Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fanfiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
Kid, have I ever mentioned that you're my favorite container ever? The QB stated with a grin. Ever since it had found out what Naruto had planned for his would-be assassin's execution, he was all smiles. Naruto rolled his eyes once again as he made his way towards the Reikage Tower. I'm pretty sure that I'm your only container. And seriously, this is why you think I'm great? Not because I took you out of that musty cage, not because I gave you free rein to run roughshod over my mindscape village, and not because I let you see what I see, feel what I feel, and all the 9 yards. No, the reason you think I'm awesome is because of my preferred method of execution. A vulpine grin that Naruto could just feel inside of his head pulled across the demon lord's lips. Exactly. The QB chuckled upon hearing Naruto scoff. And you would think that you were my only container, wouldn't you? Naruto let a look of surprise cross over his face as he almost stopped walking. Wait, what? You're saying you've had a Jinchuriki before? Who was it? Were they better than me? And is the fact that only I'm killing the bastard that tried to kill me really a good reason to label me as the best? He asked the last question almost mockingly. QB sighed. The first one simply kept me locked up for the most part and never really did anything at all, not even really tried to get any semblance of control. I was just pretty much ignored for the most part. The second one was much the same. She never really willingly tried to come into contact with me, and thus my prison, aka the mindscape in which I am kept, fell into a disheveled state. In other words, it deteriorated into the sewer that you first met me in. Naruto nodded to what appeared to the people in the streets to be himself as he thought on his prisoner's words. True, true. I can see how that would already put me leaps and bounds ahead of them. QB continued, both of them also held the ability to restrain my power. My first Jinchuriki had very close ties to the Shodaime Hokage, and with his ability to restrain the Biju with his Mokotan, he ended up passing off some of the ability to rein me into that person's already impressive skills. Did you know that my first container sealed me into their own body? I'll tell you, those damn mind chains were a real pain in my ass too. The next one was much the same, like I said, only more with the mind chains, and then there was you. Of course I was never used that much. Why do you think that Gaara had so many tricks with his Biju and you don't? Because every Jinchuriki that Shikaku was sealed and actually used it, it had to develop tricks and add-ons to survive. I was never really used, therefore all I taught you was the Amari, because I never had to come up with anything else. I'm just glad that you had enough imagination to come up with your own stuff. And then there was me. Naruto repeated in his head, what about me? Naruto saw the Reikage Tower coming in sight as he continued listening onto the QB. You didn't chain me down to anything. As a matter of fact, even after you realized that I was the one that had nearly eradicated your home years ago, you still treated me levelly. You not only actually let me see the outside world, you took it upon yourself to renovate the dreary sewer I had been in up to that point. And you have little to no problem giving into your natural bloodlust that comes with the territory of possessing me, even if you do only venture to that damned forest of death to indulge me. Naruto rolled his eyes. Well, I can't exactly go around killing random people whenever I want now, can I? You'd better love me for what I'm about to do then, because this is going to suck for this guy. Naruto saw his team standing outside of the tower, two with angry looks on their faces, and the other with a simple bored look on it with a sunbon for added effect. Naruto grinned as he walked up, so I assume the old man had some dealings to work out with Kumo's brass. How's everybody feeling today? Kotetsu glared down at the shorter Chunin. You're so lucky that beating the crap out of you would get me thrown in jail, kid. You're a right bastard, you know that? Naruto waved it off. Hey, I'll bet the alcohol burned the hangover right out of you, didn't it? Now you're fit for service today, and you're going to see something cool in a bit. Well, not so much cool as terrifying. Izumo looked at the boy who was being very cryptic as to why they were there. What are you talking about, Naruto? Naruto chuckled. I was attacked by an assassin last night. The Reikage's going to let me publicly execute him today. Danma looked at the stunned faces of his older team members. Naruto, I should have known you were so chipper about something today. No wonder you wanted us to come. What are you going to do to the guy? Naruto walked up to Ganma and whispered in his ear. The Tokubetsu Jonin looked at the boy and shook his head. You're crazy, kid, I swear. Naruto grinned up at him. Being crazy is the only thing that's kept me from going insane. With that, Naruto walked inside the tower and left his team on the outside to ponder amongst themselves. Sat at his desk with the now recovered, for the most part, Team Samui standing in front of him. The girl that was the team's namesake stood straight and composed, Team Samui reporting for a mission. Reikage-sama. Looked at the group of Chunin. Karui still had a few bruises on her face, Omoi still had the telltale signs of a broken jaw, and Samui herself, while not showing any signs of outside trauma, still showed her own injuries by the way that she made no real sudden movements, probably due to the soreness of her ribs. Sighing as he saw the expectant faces of the ninja, A spoke, denied. He then steeled himself for the shitstorm to come. What? Karui, predictably, was the first one to explode. What do you mean we can't take any missions? Why? What did we do? Rolled his eyes. If you want to take a D-ranked mission, feel free, but I'm not sending you on a mission where there is implied combat. Not in the condition that you're all in, or did you think that I wouldn't find out about your little challenge to Uzumaki? It's kind of hard to hide the existence of the battle when said battle ends up putting you in the hospital. All of the team had the decency to look sheepish. Before the conversation could continue, the Reikage secretary knocked on the door and upon hearing a booming enter made her way into the room. Reikage-sama, you have a Naruto Uzumaki here that says you told him to show up today. Nodded to the woman, go ahead and send him in. His secretary left to fetch Naruto while he turned his attention back to his team of Chunin. Speak of the devil, he's here. Samui voiced a question. Reikage-sama, why is Naruto-san coming to see you today? Decided to inform his ninja on what the boy was doing there, seeing as how he had somewhat established some sort of relationship with them. Uzumaki was attacked last night by one of our ninja in his hotel room. Instead of attempting to deal with the man himself, he avoided international incident and came directly to me. I have ordered the man be executed, and Uzumaki has asked to perform the service. Karui gave Naruto a somewhat appalled look. You volunteered to perform an execution? Naruto shrugged. It was either kill him last night and get into some village relation nightmare scandal, or kill him today. No one tries to assassinate Naruto Uzumaki for personal reasons and lives. If it was a mission, I'd still be pissed off about it, but I would have understood. You've got to do what you've got to do. This guy was simply related to the guy that tried to kidnap the Hyuga heiress a bunch of years ago, had a gripe against Konoha ever since, and decided to try and put down their Jinchuriki to cripple our strength. Personal revenge against me is fine, you just better make sure that you finish me off when you try it, or else you'll have hell to pay. Karui looked at the boy that had just broken into an entire explanation over her question. Did you know that you are extremely mentally unbalanced? What kind of kid just up and opts to execute people like that? Naruto raised an eyebrow. In the last year alone, I've met a kid whose entire life mission is to kill his older brother who killed his entire clan when he was no older than we are now. A kid that had suppressed aggression issues that he took out on his younger female cousin. A kid that randomly crushed people with sand and called the demon inside of him mother. And a kid that walks around outdoors in broad daylight in green spandex, a bowl-cut haircut, and routinely shouts at the top of his lungs about youth while hugging and crying a man that looks like his father only with bigger eyebrows. Naruto put a small smile on his face. Compared to most of the people I've met, I'd say that I'm not that bad at all. If you'd met me 6 months ago, then you would say that I'm fucking strange, stranger than now, so yeah, don't talk to me about weird or unbalanced. Little miss, my sensei routinely breaks into rhyme for no reason whatsoever. But Naruto finished while winking at the girl and clicking his tongue at her. Karui blushed at way that Naruto had just addressed her while Samui twitched faintly at her side. Naruto turned to Fesa with a smile on his face. So where's my late night unwanted visitor? I hope you guys didn't break him too badly over the night, because I need him fully receptive to pain for what I have planned for him. I was curious at what exactly a small boy could come up with to kill a prisoner in a public display. What exactly do you have planned as far as the execution itself goes? Naruto walked over and whispered his idea in A's ear. Pulled away from him. What kind of kid comes up with that kind of thing? Naruto again shrugged, all I need is something to hide my identity while I do it, because I don't need people from your village hating me for killing one of its ninja, even if it was warranted. Naruto looked around the office blankly. You wouldn't happen to have a cloak or something that could cover my appearance, would you? I made a face and noticed the team that was standing in his office. Alright, if you kids want a mission, I have one for you. Go get Uzumaki here something to cover his identity with before the execution in a bit. Naruto stood gaping at Naruto wasn't dumb, he was well aware of the majority of things that went on around him, and by listening to the mission that had just been assigned to a team with 2 women, he had come to a conclusion that he confirmed when he looked over at Team Samui's lone male member looking downtrodden. Did he just fucking give them free rein to play dress up with me? Naruto opened his mouth to dispute how he didn't need any help, that just a really long cloak would be adequate, when Samui laid a hand on his shoulder and spoke, of course Reikich-sama, we'll complete this mission to the best of our ability. Naruto was then pulled out of the room by Samui and surprisingly even Karui by his hands. Turning back, he saw the smirking face of the Reikage and began cursing him out under his breath as the deep-seated chuckles came from the massive man. 2 hours later. Arriving back in the tower, Naruto's eyes were well hidden by his new apparel that his female companions so readily picked out for him. Omoi was simply standing in the background with an amused look on his face. Naruto stood in front of the Reikage while the women stood back with satisfied looks on their faces. Samui because she got to see what the new guy looked like underneath his shirt by accident, and Karui because she had just spent the last 2 hours more or less ordering around the guy that had thrashed her soundly the other day. Naruto's new look was a sleeveless hooded gray vest that draped far enough over his face to cover all of his features, except for his mouth. In shadow, his pants were black and taped off at the ankles, he kept the black bracers on his forearms, and had black shinobi sandals on his feet. Naruto smirked as he formed a cross symbol with his fingers, one last touch to my identity, Kagebunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. A clone of Naruto sprang into existence and promptly transformed into what he wore when he came to Kumogakure in the first place. Go and find Ganma, Kotetsu, and Izumo and stay with them until the execution is over, then leave the area and dispel so I can change and catch up with them. His Kagebunshin nodded and left the room to find his team while the original turned back to A with a toothy grin, shadow covering the rest of his face. Now where's my victim for the day? Kyuubi's getting testy. Naruto sat meditating in his hotel room after carrying out the execution of Kenta Marekyo. The reason he needed to steady his mind this time? Random happenings of an unexpected nature occurring around his person. Not to say that the happenings in question were unwanted. No, not in the least, they were very welcome as far as he was concerned. But that didn't make them any less strange. The first was what had happened with his Kagebunshin after he had it leave the premises of the execution site. Flashback, roughly 10 minutes after the execution. Naruto had wasted no time in leaving the immediate area after his creator's little show. Dispelling in front of the Kumo shinobi might have blown his cover, which could lead to some ill will from them and maybe even retaliation somewhere down the line at a later time from angry nationalists that might have been thinking that Konoha was trying to push around some political weight that it didn't have. Clone Naruto went as far as he could, heading into the residential area of the village where he was positive that no one would see him dispel. In an alley he figured that he was as well concealed as he was going to be when a shadow blocked the alley entrance. Sighing to himself, the clone focused to see that Samui and Karui had followed him to the alley. What are you guys doing here? I need to dispel before boss gets caught. People can't realize that I was the one that did all of that yet. Samui looked down for a moment before steeling herself somewhat and walking closer to the clone. So anything that you know, Naruto will learn after you dispel? She asked, getting a nod in response. Well then, when does he leave Kumo? The clone thought about it for a moment. I have no clue. I was never told how long we would be staying, so your guess is as good as mine. Why do you want to know? And where is Omoi? Did you guys ditch him? Karui walked up. Omoi said he didn't need to be here for what we wanted to say to you. Say, if you don't have anything to do while you're still in the village, why don't you come and find one of us? We can do something with you. Clone Naruto blinked. Are they hitting on me? Sweet. Boss himself never even gets hit on and I'm just his freaking clone and 2 girls are trying it. Giving the girls $1 million smile he gave them. An answer, sure thing girls, and if you want to talk to me while I'm still here then you know where to find me, right? Both girls nodded as Karui gave him a smile. That's great. I guess we'll see you around then? Naruto nodded, sure thing. You two shouldn't be that hard to find, right? I'll see you girls later. Karui waved to him and left the alley. Samui lagged behind, however, waiting until her teammate was out of sight before turning back to Naruto. Naruto-san. The clone held up his hand to stop her. Samui, I'm sorry, but I can't take the Asan stuff. You don't have to use any honorifics with me. Just call me Naruto, it's alright, I won't mind. Samui nodded and took a breath, looking somewhat nervous, a sharp contrast to what Naruto had come to expect from her personality. Quickly moving up close to him, she planted a kiss on his cheek. I hope to see you soon, Naruto-kun. As he watched the girl sway her hips somewhat as she left him in the alley, a stupid grin rolled onto his face. Chuckling to himself, Naruto clone dispelled himself. End flashback. Yeah, he didn't see that coming. How the hell was he going to work that one out in the end? Who knows? But the ride down promised to be super fun if he would have his way with it. That seemed like enough to fill his day with suggestive thoughts of potential situations, and the silence that he was receiving from his inner fuzzy was much appreciated. He didn't need any perverted jokes or lewd suggestions from the Kyuubi today, thank you. Unfortunately, or very fortunately in the view of the certain others, Naruto included himself in this line of thinking, his day didn't end like that. Flashback, a few hours ago. Naruto had hustled back to his hotel room after receiving his clone's memories and changed back into the clothes that he had come to Kumo with. Couldn't be seen in the new stuff after going through all of the trouble of hiding the fact that it was you in the first place, right? After washing the blood off of his body and changing, a knock came at his door. Grabbing his sword and walking to answer it, he opened it to find the smiling face of one Yuji Doni. This confused Naruto, as he hadn't really interacted with the girl at all since he had been in the village, save for the few minutes when they first met. Hi there, Yujido, how are you doing? Can I help you? Yujido nodded and Naruto motioned for her to enter the room. Yujido took a seat on one of the beds in the room and patted the spot next to her for Naruto to sit on. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the girl's cavalier attitude, but acquiesced to Yujido's silent request. Looking the girl over as he sat down now that he had time to let his eyes wander, he would agree with his earlier thought that Yujido was about 4 or so more years older than him, which begged the question, what was she doing here talking to him? He didn't sense any hostile intent coming from her, so she wasn't here to fight, or challenge him or anything. And with 2 girls from the village seemingly interested in him as it was, there was no way that another one was right? Especially one that was this hot and older than him. Naruto looked up into Yujido's eyes to get a bead on why she was there and just decided to come out with it and ask, so Yujido, what brings you here? Yujido smiled at him pleasantly again, well, I just want to get to know you a bit, Naruto-kun. Naruto almost gulped nervously, Naruto-kun? I had to force Samui to stop calling me San and Yujido's calling me a kun right off the bat? Getting himself under control, he cleared his throat. Well, what do you want to know? I'll answer what I can, but I don't see why you would want to know anything about me. Yujido shook her head. You just don't recognize the fact that you're interesting to people, do you? You're a respectably strong ninja even among Chunin and Jounin from the way your team treats you, and you're only 13 years old. You're a Jinchuriki like me and Karabi, and you don't seem utterly insane like he is. Naruto gave her a questioning look. Speaking of which, you don't have any quirks on that kind of level, do you? Because here there's Karabi, and then in Konoha I've got 2 people that I know that can match as crazy, and all of these people seem to want to talk to me for some reason. It's like I attract eccentric people. Yujido giggled. No, I don't have anything quirky like that, Naruto-kun, and Karabi is okay in doses, you just have to get used to him. She looked at him softly. I kind of want to know what makes you tick. You're a very good ninja, but you seem like such a nice person. Your diplomat doesn't seem to like you though, from what Reikage-sama told me. Naruto nodded. Yeah, most of Konoha's old fogies don't really see me in a good light. It's okay, if they really have a problem with me then they're all free to try and do something about it. I won't be their doormat or scapegoat though. I promise to protect Konoha itself, not necessarily the assholes in it, so in case anyone tries to pull any bullcrap on me they can get the same thing that guy got today. Yujido looked at him curiously. That was you? Who am I kidding? It makes sense. Who else is that short and allowed to carry out executions? So he tried to kill you? She got a nod in response. Have people in Konoha tried? Naruto nodded. Yeah, but not for a long time. I guess the stupid civilians got sick of getting their asses kicked by a kid and smartened up. You're right, I am a nice guy, until you try to kill me, then I'm a complete bastard, as Kenta Marekio could attest to, if I hadn't cleaved him into 5 segments. Yujido nodded. True, so tell me then. What makes Naruto Uzumaki tick? End flashback. Naruto and Yujido just spent the afternoon talking to one another. Yujido was actually a sweet girl that could relate on some level with Naruto. At first she wasn't trusted much either, but when Kurabi earned the people's trust by proxy, his reputation trickled down to her somewhat, as she also had gone through much for her village. She told Naruto that eventually his village would love him the way they loved Kurabi if he could just prove his skill and loyalty to them the way he did. Naruto heard the heartfelt way she spoke to him and didn't have the heart to tell the girl the reason that they would probably never fully trust him and that he would eternally be walking on eggshells around them. He was now forever linked to the Kyuubi, the thing that had come within a hair of destroying the entire village of Konoha. The only way that he would be able to earn their full respect would be if he somehow defeated an enemy that was terrorizing the village and killing countless villagers single-handedly when no one else could stop them but him or something, you know, a one-in-a-million kind of scenario that only happens in manga and stuff. As they both noticed the sun starting to set, Yujido stood up and thanked Naruto for taking the time to speak to her. She also told him that if he wanted to find her for any reason at all, she would always be free for a cutie like him. He had to fight down a blush on that one, and had to stem blood flow to another place as he watched her leave the room and walk down the hall, because much like Samui, she certainly made a show of it for him. Naruto couldn't believe it. The only interaction with these girls that he had so far up to this point had been crashing the Raikage office, kicking 2 of their asses with the other watching from a distance, and being arrested and hauled to the aforementioned Raikage office. How the fuck do those interactions get hot women like that to like me? I didn't do anything. Was I really that badass? I was just being me. Naruto was thinking to himself, dude, I can't even get a girl being a nice guy, albeit pretty dumb guy, back in Konoha for years, and here I just acted like a borderline psychopath and 3 girls just now showed interest in me. I guess that pretty boy Sasuke had it right after all. The more fucked up you seem, the more women seem to flock to you. Kid, if you really start thinking like that, the next time you come in here I'll chase you and eat you. Naruto heard from inside of his head. Kyuubi never really liked the Uchiha clan that much, even back before Naruto even met Sasuke, but it refused to elaborate on exactly why. After running through most of the interaction that he had with the boy, Naruto just figured that it was his personality. It was certainly abrasive enough, just go with it. Whatever happens will happen. You're leaving soon anyway, you won't have to deal with it again for a while after this, so go and spend some time with them, maybe you'll like one. And you really need to ditch all of these males that you're hanging around anyway. Naruto's sweat dropped. You mean my team? Kyuubi grinned to itself. Yeah. Kit, your team is a sausage fest. Go and find those girls tomorrow or I'll sing for the entire day out loud. Naruto's jaw dropped in horror. Oh, come on. Why would you do that? I didn't even piss you off. You haven't done anything like that in years. Why now? Well, your real memories were sealed up until a few months ago, so the inside joke would have been lost on you. And you have pissed me off like that since then, but I've been very lenient. A pale hue covered Naruto's face. You're kidding, right? You wouldn't do that to me, would you? We're friends dash. Well, not really friends, but you get the point, right? Hey Kit, do you like wings? Wings? Love, take me down to the streets. Love, take me down to the streets. 'Cause when you don't get fed at home, you gotta give the dog his bone. Take our lovin' to the streets. Several hours later, Gunma found Naruto lying on the hotel room floor frothing at the mouth, mumbling lowly, "That's not wings." 1 week later, despite not being trusted enough by Hamura to actually protect him during this trip, Naruto found that there was plenty for him to do in a foreign village. On the first day, he simply found Yujido and trained with her for the day. The girl was at first surprised that the boy was able to keep up with her, but remembered that he was no slouch and that the Kyuubi could pick up his slack if need be. Yujito even took it upon herself to teach him a lightning jutsu or two when he stated that the ones that he knew were very specialized. Naruto would have tried teaching her some wind maneuvers in return, but Yujito's elements were lightning and fire, and that made it hard for her to learn those techniques. She appreciated the effort though and said she'd keep trying to learn them. The second day he was quickly found by Karabi and was forced to follow the man around Kumo all day running errands with the man. Errands consisted mostly of standing by while the man stood on top of the Raikage Tower while he tried rapping to the masses. He even introduced Naruto but thankfully left out the Mr. 9 stuff. After that, Naruto saw firsthand how beloved Karabi actually was. There were kids coming up to him, some asking for his autograph, some asking him to do a rap. Naruto cringed when he actually went through with the request. Hell, there were kids trying to rap to him. It made him wonder if things could ever be like that for him. He smiled when he realized that it was getting there, slowly, but it was. For better or worse, he already had his own chibi brigade that followed him around whenever he was in town, so that was step 1 it seems. The next part was when Karabi went to his team's houses to tell them that he had a mission away from Kumo for a while, so training was put off. He learned that Omoi and Karui were related. He kind of didn't see that coming, they seemed too different to him. Their parents were dead, so he could relate with them like that, though he wisely didn't bring that up. That would have been stupid. He simply played the straight man to Karabi's over-the-top BS that he could tell was working on Karui's nerves. Upon departing from their house, Naruto probably had his moment of the day when Karabi actually broke into Samui's home when she didn't answer the door. While Karabi was roaming the house looking for the girl, Naruto simply stood in a hallway waiting for the eccentric man to give up so they could go. While he was standing there, he was graced with the sight of Samui emerging from her bathroom after a shower, clad in only a towel, and that was enough for Naruto's mind to get to work. Strangely enough, Naruto didn't get the beating for that, Karabi did. Naruto dragged the man out of the house in pieces while apologizing and explaining to Samui, who just looked at him with a blush on her face. After dragging Karabi to the curb outside of her house, he even offered her a massage as an apology, somewhat jokingly, mostly just to see what she would do. He was either expecting a stuttering decline to his offer or a rage-filled chase with her still clad in a towel, which would have been great. After a slightly shocked look, she smirked at him and invited him inside. Yep, good day to be the kid. The next day, Naruto decided that seeing Samui would have been somewhat detrimental to his health after basically seeing her naked the day before, so he simply stayed in the hotel room. Izumo and Kotetsu eventually made their way to the room and ended up playing poker with Naruto. The end result was Naruto taking all of their money, plus IOUs from both men in the amount of their mission paychecks. Another good day to be the kid. Karui and Omoi found Naruto the next day after training him and dragged him out of his house to show him Kumo so that he knew what he would want to do next time instead of just training and staying in his room. Running into their teammate Samui later on, they decided to make a day of it and ended up seeing a movie. Naruto didn't really care about the movie as he ended up spending the majority of it working on his growing flirting skills. Mostly with Samui, but also with Karui when he was certain that he wouldn't be hit for it. The end of that day saw him sitting on the roof of his hotel listening to Yujito play her shamisen for him, as she had asked if she could a few days before, and Naruto agreed, wanting to hear someone else besides him play an instrument and also thankful that her innate musical talents came in the form of a more pleasant instrument to relax to, unlike him and his apparent skill with drums. That marked his last day in Kumo as negotiations on this end of the table had ended and Konoha had to leave and receive word on the results while simultaneously preparing for a representative from Kumo to come in the near future. After hunting down all of the people that he had ended up getting on good terms with during his stay in Kumo and saying goodbye, Naruto and his team set out for home, with Hamura once again in a carriage that was steered by Gunma. Kotetsu yawned as he kept in pace with the carriage rolling down the paths. Man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I miss gate duty. Naruto snickered to himself. Well, you do tend to feel fondness for things that you do well. I guess you would miss that job, huh? Kotetsu glared at the blonde boy. Hey, don't knock gate duty. It's a steady, easy job. Your friends can come and talk to you when they want to. You get the gossip from all of the good missions firsthand and before anyone else, and the people watching is amazing. Izumo looked over at Naruto. So Naruto, are you going to try and join Umbu? From what I've heard and from what I've seen, you might not be too bad at it. Naruto held back the urge to roll his eyes. Bachan won't let me do it. Oh well, it's not like I need to jump back into the direct murdering of people yet. as long as I keep getting strong enough for those Akatsuki losers, then I'll be fine. Whatever happens, happens, just like the fox says. Turning to answer his partner's question, he smiles, I'm in no rush. I'm only 13, unless you want another Itachi-esque prodigy to rise up so you can say you worked with me when I get famous. Izumo and Kotetsu snorted with laughter, and even Ganma cracked a smile from his place on the carriage. Whatever you say, kid. Naruto grinned to himself, yeah, things will get hectic enough all on their own. I'm in no real rush. The amassed team of Ganma Shiranui, Naruto Uzumaki, Kotetsu Hagane, and Izumo Kamizuki stood in front of the Hokage's desk, having just given their report on the mission to Kumo. Tsunade had to rub her forehead at the report. Naruto, how do you get arrested in Kumo after being there for 4 hours tops? Naruto shrugged, Hokage-sama, Murphy's Law just loves me like that, I guess. Come on now, are you really surprised by this point that this stuff happens to me even when I don't instigate it? You should know this by now. Tsunade sighed and waved it off, alright, other than the extracurricular activities of someone here. She said while looking at Naruto, good work. You're all dismissed and have a few days of leave. The group nodded and turned to leave. Naruto, you stay. Tsunade said before he could exit the office. Naruto turned back around to face the blonde woman. Can I talk to you for a moment? Naruto walked back over to her desk and leaned on it. What do you need, Bachan? The toothy grin on his face let her know that he knew this was personal more than anything else. I need to get some sleep and then head into my favorite place to get some destructive new jutsu down. Tsunade shook her head in amusement. Alright brat, I asked you before, but I'm going to try it again. How strong do you think you are? Naruto raised an eyebrow. In a straight-up fight or when I get the drop on somebody? Tsunade blinked. Both if you know. Naruto though about it, well I'm good enough from the shadows to kill one of Orochimaru's bodyguards before he even knew I was there, and I can stay hidden in an enemy stronghold for months at a time if I had to. I don't really like that though, it's nerve-wracking. He started pacing around her office. What would you rank Orochimaru's right-hand man Kabuto and Kimimaro Kagaya if you had to? Tsunade understood where he was going with that. It was hard to rank yourself, so he was comparing himself to others. Both of them would be considered Jounin level. Naruto nodded. I don't really count Kabuto though, he didn't try fighting me for real until I had him beaten, so I only have experience against one Jounin level ninja since my promotion. You just promoted me like 2 months ago, are you really looking to do it again so soon? Tsunade picked up Ganma's written report from the desk. All of your teammates have stated that you might make a good candidate in the future for Anbu. I already figured that you would be a Jounin in a year or two if you keep growing. Now enough about that, what did you actually do in Kumo? Your report says that you spent some time with a few of the people there but you didn't elaborate at all. Naruto sat down in a chair and smiled at Tsunade. She was very good to him after he had brought her back to Konoha. It was something akin to a sibling-esque relationship. She was his boss, but she legitimately cared about him. Naruto was very grateful to her for this. He probably would do anything in his power that Tsunade asked of him, even if he didn't directly answer to her. I beat up an entire team of Kumo Chunin that challenged me to a spar after my arrest. By the way, there were 2 girls on that team and they seemed to like me. I met Kumo's 2 Jinchuriki. One of them is utterly insane, like on the level of Lee and Guy, insane, but the other one is a few years older than me and she's hot. She's a sweetheart too. Tsunade's eyes gleamed. Finally I might have some ammunition on the brat. Drink yourself into a stupor without me, will you? I'll show you. So what else, brat? Naruto ignored the look as he kept listing things off. Let's see, I made Kotetsu and Izumo give themselves alcohol burns on their testicles. I won all of their money, by the way placed their paychecks for the mission in my name, and some guy tried to kill me. Oh. And I also dash dot. What? Tsunade almost roared at him. Someone tried to kill you? Who? Did Kumo order dash dot? Naruto had to place his hands on her shoulders to calm her down. Whoa, whoa. Calm down, Bachan, it's okay. He tried to kill me, but he got captured by the Raikage's forces and I got to execute him the next day. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. That was in the report, wasn't it? So what did you do? Naruto sat back down and leaned back in his chair. I had him hanged, drawn, and quartered. I did it myself. That method of execution hadn't been done since the Second Great Ninja War. Particularly brutal method that, how do you even know how to do something like that? Naruto let out a cough that sounded suspiciously like Root, and Tsunade ended up nodding in understanding. Naruto stood up and stretched. So where's Ero-sennin? Is he here so I can start my training, or am I on my own for the time being? Tsunade shook her head. He's out gathering information on a lead on the Akatsuki, trying to find out exactly what they need the Kyuubi for. He's also trying to find out who other members are. He'll be back in a few months. I'll clear your schedule for that point in time and let you know in advance. Naruto made a grunt of affirmation and walked towards the window. Alright then, like I said before, I'm going home, taking a nap, getting some food, and then I'll be spending some quality time in the Forest of Death in order to avoid collateral damage from the training I'm going to go do. If you need to find me, then that's where I'll be. Tsunade turned her head as he walked past her. Brat, take the door, for crying out loud. Naruto grinned as he pulled the window open. What was that, Bachan? The wind is kind of heavy today. Did you say doors are for losers? Because I agree with you wholeheartedly on that front. Tell Shizen Nichan I said hi. With that, Naruto jumped out of the open window and vanished in a shunshin. Tsunade slapped her forehead. Great. Now both the brat and the pervert get their jollies from going in and out of the window. Naruto opened his apartment door and wasted no time in dropping face first on his couch with a massive sigh. Sigh, I need a bigger house. Naruto simply lay still face down while his door opened silently and slowly. The figure crept through the living room until Naruto's voice rang out. If you want to keep all of your limbs attached, I would stop moving forward if I were you. Wow, shithead, nice to see you too. Naruto lifted his head and rolled over to get an eyeful of Tayuya. Tayuya-chan? What are you doing in my apartment? Tayuya rolled her eyes. I heard your door open and heard your loud-ass buffalo noise when you dropped on the couch. What, are you not happy to see me? Naruto shook his head, confused. It's not that, it's just, what are you doing here? Tayuya gave him a grin. I live in the complex. I'm actually right next door to you, shithead. Surprise! Naruto's jaw dropped as he mulled around what she had just said in his head. So you're out of confinement? He got a nod in response. And they're letting you stay? Another nod. And you actually chose to live in this complex of all places? Tayuya sighed. Listen up, I'm an Oto Kunoichi shithead. There isn't a person in this place that isn't paranoid about me. You're the only person that would treat me decently, therefore I want to stay close to you until things look up for me. Naruto sat up straight on the couch. If you want, I can help you booby trap your place if you're worried about that. Tayuya let out a laugh. Maybe later, shithead. So where have you been? Naruto moved over and let her sit down as he stood up and walked to the kitchen. I was in Kyumo. It was just a guard detail, nothing really strenuous. I kept active and I learned something pretty cool that I need to go test out full scale later. I was going to go train. Tayuya frowned. Who the fuck trains right after they get back from a mission? Give it a day at least. Kami, do you ever rest? Naruto grinned at her as he began boiling water for his ramen. Not really. I've got things to prepare for. I can rest when I'm dead. Tayuya walked over and poked Naruto in the chest. Listen up, I've been spending time with 2 full-fledged medic ninja and 1 that's in training, and that kind of ended up beating some basic fucking knowledge into my head. Don't push yourself. I know you're some kind of demonically rage-fueled juggernaut of energy, but everyone needs downtime. Naruto rolled his eyes. Tayuya-chan, I just got through with resting before I took the last mission. It's not like I'm burning out, how could I? I'm 13. Naruto stopped stirring the ramen he was making and placed the spoon in her hand. Stir. I need to go get something. Tayuya grumbled, but carried out Naruto's request. Stupid shithead making me stir his stupid fucking ramen. Language. Naruto walked back into the kitchen with a smirk, ignoring Tayuya's muttering of fuck you. Now what would you do if you had your flute back? You wouldn't try to kill me again, would you? Tayuya gave him a deadpan look, arm still stirring his ramen. I can't beat you even with the flute. Orochimaru made us specialize when we were training. Genjutsu is what I'm best at and you can walk right through it. Besides, I like Konoha a hell of a lot more than Otogakure. Here I don't have to worry about some goon trying to take advantage of me when I let my guard down." Naruto nodded, "Good answer. Here." He threw something at her from behind his back. Tayuya caught it and went wide-eyed, "My flute. But I lost it during the fight." A snickering laugh came from Naruto as he took the spoon back from Tayuya and kept stirring while he turned his stove off. "Who do you think took it from you in the first place?" "What, did you think I just dropped it in the forest and left it there? I've been keeping it." Tayuya just kept looking between her flute and Naruto, who just kept on grinning. "Now you can register as a ninja for the village and can get a rank higher than Genin and avoid the grunt work of deranked missions." He noticed she hadn't moved yet. "Are you happy?" She nodded, "Good. You can go on home and start cataloging your jutsu for tomorrow." Tayuya nodded and walked out of Naruto's apartment almost zombie-like, eliciting laughter from the boy as she shut the door behind her. Grabbing a bowl for his ramen, he smiled to himself, glad to help Tayuya-chan. The next day, Naruto's personal obstacle course of death that had used to hone his reflexes and increase his speed since he had gotten his memories back wasn't really an obstacle course at all. Naruto would make a random number of Kage Bunshin and send them out into the heavily wooded areas of the Forest of Death and have them set traps, hide themselves in order to attack him during his dash, attract animals that had the potential to harm him, and anything else his twisted clones could think of to hurt him. He would make the clones meditate for 3 hours, then he would begin his deadly game. Naruto would traverse the rugged terrain back and forth 5 times each. Each time was a length of 5 kilometers from a starting point in the forest to the gate leading to the outside and was fraught with peril. His clones were utterly ruthless in their attack, and despite their one-hit limit that they could all take, they were more of hit-and-run type attackers, engaging Naruto himself when he was not expecting attack and fighting to kill. En route they would do the same, only with real people, so it was never as many as it was when Naruto used Kage Bunshin. It was also done in a long corridor that Danzo manipulated to his liking for whatever situation you were training for. This training was twofold. Not only did it allow Naruto to train himself on speed, evasion, and trap detection, it also worked on Naruto's ability to set traps and ambushes. Being able to see both sides of the conflict, both from his own view and from the memories of his Kage Bunshin, allowed him to analyze what he did right and wrong on both fronts, and to adjust for using the traps on other ninja in real-life combat situations. After finishing his warm-up, Naruto called his remaining Kage Bunshin out into a clearing and made even more, around 300 or so. Looking at them all, he began barking orders, split into 5 even groups. The clones scrambled to follow his orders, breaking off into 5 groups in even rows. "First set of you, find a spot and get to splitting leaves. Any review work is still very much needed. Also, I want you to work on kunai balancing." Pointing to the next group, he continued, "You all will go back through our jutsu catalog and start getting down the ones that we still can't do." He looked at the last group. "You all will be on stealth detail. You will be following people of interest and shadowing them. Do not get caught, this is on my reputation here. I expect some cool memories upon your dispelling at sunset. Now go." Naruto cracked his neck and made his way deep inside the forest for some live-fire combat training. "Oh spiders, you and I still have a gripe." Teammates' training for the day was driven to say the least. Ever since Kiba and Shino's humiliating one-sided losses at the hands of Naruto, both had been training hard to catch up to the boy that had blown right past them. Kiba worked on his speed and combination tactics with Akamaru and was also trying to teach the puppy how to better defend himself in case they ended up being separated or one of them went down in battle. After hearing how Naruto dealt with the majority of the Sound 4 with little to no effort in the least, and how he himself instead had to be saved at the last second by Neji and Kankuro, Kiba resolved to somehow get to the blonde's level. Shino was inspired by a combination of his crushing defeat by Naruto and the knowledge of the Sasuke retrieval mission that had failed. It was almost a prerequisite by this point for all Jonin-sensei to venture to the site of Naruto's battle with Kimimaro with their genin cells in order to either inspire them to work harder, or to let them know just how powerful Naruto was. The sight of the countless bone spires sticking out of the ground, and the knowledge that Naruto was able to outlast such an enemy on his own planted a seed into Shino's head that if he didn't want to be left behind even more than he already had been, then he needed to improve and fast. Kurenai watched as her 2 students stood at opposite ends of the training ground with her lone female charge standing between them. In a blur, Kiba and Akamaru charged the blue-haired girl and launched the Getsuga directly at her. On her other side, Shino unleashed a torrent of insects at her. Opening her eyes with her Byakugan active, she began spinning and directing her hands in precise and exact locations all around her. A field of chakra as precise as lasers surrounded her body, bouncing Kiba off and actually shredding Shino's Kikai insects on contact. Kurenai had to smile as her most timid student had come up with her own technique on par with the Hyuga clan's Hakusho Kaiten. The Shugohaku Rokujuyan Sho, protection of the 8 trigrams 64 palms, was more tailored towards Hinata's flexibility than the rigid form that the Kaiten required from its users. The fact that she came up with the technique on her own without help, except to test its development, was incredible to Kurenai. Kiba stood up from where he was launched off, holding his head that had a gash on it, but with a smile on his face as his Ninken came bounding up to him. Wow, Hinata, that was rough. And you're saying that it's not finished yet? Hinata smiled as she turned off her Byakugan and dropped her stance. No, it's close though. I'm not sure what it would do against an attack from all sides the level of your Getsuga, but when focused in just a few areas it should be fine. Kurenai smiled. At least Naruto's utter thrashing of everyone's genin in front of the entire village did good things for the majority of them. Hinata's stuttering had all but vanished. She had learned that things with Niji were getting better. Even her father was beginning to improve Hinata. That was very impressive. When that jutsu was complete it should be B rank if not A rank. A blush came to the girl's face, but she gave a firm nod. Shino walked over and, despite not giving away any expression, nodded his agreement that he was very proud of her. Thank you, Kurenai-sensei. The words of one particular blonde boy rang out clear in her mind as she felt like she was finally making strides for herself. I wonder what you would think, Naruto-kun. Team Guy leapt through the tree limbs of the Forest of Death. They had been assigned a rare C-ranked mission inside the village gates. Recently there had been reports of an increased amount of loud noises coming from the Forest of Death over the last few months, which was quite impressive considering the size of the place, and when Anko Medarashi had been brought in for questioning it was evident that it wasn't her disrupting the peace, so this mission had been commissioned to discover what was going on. Now Team Guy had no idea, seeing as how Tsunade, the only other person besides Anko that knew who liked to frequent that place, wasn't forthcoming with the info that everyone's favorite blonde kid had a habit of raising Cain within the gates of the dangerous forest. Thus the team led by the green-clad taijutsu ace had next to no idea what they were getting into. Guy led the group, followed by Niji, who was flanked on both sides by Lee and Tenten. Lee had never even heard of a C-rank mission inside of the village, thus why he was excited, more excited than usual. Yash. What do you think could be causing such a ruckus in the forest? I have heard of all kinds of amazing animals within the forest, but did not get to see any during our first foray within, with the exception of my youthful squirrel friend. I wonder how he is doing. Tenten tried to calm the hyper guy clone down. Lee, please be quiet. We didn't come across any of the weird things in here last time because we were careful. Don't go screaming your head off in here, or who knows what you'll bring down on us. Lee opened his mouth to retort in a youthful fashion, but Guy turned his head to give Lee a firm look. Lee, Tenten is right. You may have made your way through the woods before, but you should count yourself lucky that you didn't come across any of the creatures in this place. I don't care if we are inside of the village, treat this like a hostile environment because it is. Even Jounin are somewhat wary of entering this place. Lee gulped and nodded after being reprimanded by Guy. Niji squinted and spoke up. Guy-sensei, I am seeing countless human lifeforms in an upcoming clearing. Guy nodded and looked back at his genin once more. Prepare yourselves, when we enter the area who knows what will be here. Getting a nod from his students, Guy turned back ahead. The group's mojo was disrupted, however, when Niji face fell onto one of the branches, forcing his team to halt. Tenten jumped back and helped the boy stand up. Niji-kun, what's wrong? Are you okay? Niji nodded as he stood up and started jumping forward, ahead of the rest of the team, ignoring Guy's cries to come back. Pushing his way into the clearing, he found a mass of Naruto clones, diligently at work spamming jutsu all over the place, some dispelling from lack of chakra, but otherwise it was something that the young Hyuga genius had never seen before. His team came up right behind him and were stuck staring at the scene before them, much like Niji was. Tenten looked at the clones wide-eyed. What is going on? Naruto-kun? He's everywhere. Lee's eyes were ablaze with youth. Yash, such a youthful training program. I must spar with Naruto-kun. Lee took off into the mass of hard-at-work clones, stopping in front of the first one, scaring the hell out of it and forcing it to electrocute itself with one of the jutsu Naruto had learned in Kyumo and blow up in a puff of smoke. This forced all of the other Naruto replications to take notice of just who it was that intruded on their session. Lee ran up to another one and dropped into his stance. Naruto-kun, my eternal rival, I request to spar with you to stoke both of our flames of youth. The clones all looked at each other until one spoke up, We're all clones. Boss just told us to work on his jutsus until we dispel from lack of chakra. He's out further in the forest getting even with those stupid spiders. The clones all broke into a smattering of chatter, mostly circulating around how the original Naruto was going to go medieval on those spiders' asses and how they all wished they could be there to fight too. Guy listened in to what was being said. So you're saying that Naruto-kun is deeper in the forest? Getting a collective yep from the clones, he continued, and he's actively trying to provoke the more dangerous wildlife just for training? They all nodded as one clone spoke up. Yeah, I mean, you're saying that like it's a bad thing. Sure, there's a shitload of spiders in this forest, but they have to realize that they can't win after he slaughters like a few dozen of them, right? Guy paled. Concerning his genin, clone-kun, no one knows exactly how many of certain creatures this forest has. Especially the spiders. There are reports from Umbu of nests under the ground with countless amounts of them, and they're highly aggressive in nature. The clones scoffed. Well, we could have told you that. Those 8-legged fucks mess with us every time we come in here to train. We have to divert clones just to keep a lookout and as extermination squads in case the bastards get too close. Guy palmed his forehead. Clone-kun, you're not getting it. These spiders mature at an absurd rate, and they reproduce far too quickly. If your original is out there killing them for sport, then he is in grave danger. Which way did he go? The clones all pointed northeast, to the bad spot where we know the spiders hang out. Like I said, we have a gripe with those bastards. Knock over 2 barrels of my sake, will they? Guy turned to his team. We have to go get Naruto-kun out of there. Prepare for a battle, be fast and precise against the enemy. Those spiders are fast, strong, and ruthless. Kill them and move on. Niji and Tenten nodded while Lee was fired up. Yash. Let's go save Naruto-kun. Elsewhere in Konoha. Sakura smiled as the fish on her table flopped back into the water. Her skill with the Shaozen Jutsu was growing every day. Soon Tsunade said she would be able to begin working on creatures with bones closer to humans. The last few months since her training began had been great for Sakura. Despite being harder than anything she had done before, she could now see a reason why Rock Lee and others trained so hard. The feeling of succeeding after working on something for so long was well worth the effort put in. Good work, Sakura. Sakura turned to see Tsunade had been overseeing her work with a smile. You're getting better and better at the basic techniques. After you master most of the medical techniques, I can begin teaching you my strength amplifying technique. Now let's work on your taijutsu. You need to be able to keep yourself in one piece and defeat your opponents quickly as a medic ninja. For now, we'll begin working on your elusiveness and I'll teach you form later. Sakura nodded with a determined look on her face. She wouldn't be the weakest link ever again if she had any say in her own skill. Team Asuma had just returned to the village after a B-ranked mission. Ino was groaning loudly while rolling her neck. I'm so glad we're done with that mission. I need a hot shower and some rest. Asum smirked as he took a drag of his cigarette. Good work with those bandits, team. Shikamaru, good work with the plan. It went off without a hitch. Shoji, you're coming along nicely with your family techniques. Ino looked at her sensei expectantly, who looked at her for a moment before speaking up. Ino, that was a good use of Shitenshin no Jutsu to scout out the camp. I was sure that you wouldn't use the jutsu again for quite some time after what happened the last time. All of you, take the rest of the day off and meet me at our training field tomorrow. With that, the bearded Jounin walked towards the Hokage Tower to give his report to Tsunade about the mission. Choji looked between his teammates. Hey, do you guys want to get some barbecue before we go home? Shikamaru chuckled and patted his friend on the shoulder. Sure thing, Choji, let's go, Ino. The group found their way and ended up in a booth shortly. After placing their orders, the team started to converse, with Shikamaru launching out the first question. Ino, you never told us why you stopped using Shitenshin no Jutsu after the fight with Naruto in the first place. Did he have some kind of defense like Sakura had that actually hurt you? Ino hugged herself slightly. Yeah, but it wasn't really a straightforward kind of thing. Naruto's mind is strange. It looked just like Konoha, every inch of it was to scale. No one had a mind that extensive. Shoji squealed happily as the beef was placed in front of him. He wasted no time in throwing the meat on the grill while Shikamaru kept asking Ino his questions. So just being in Konoha and the guy's mind freaked you out? That's kind of weak, Ino. The platinum blonde growled at him as she placed her own meat onto the grill. That's not all that happened. I was wandering around for a bit when I felt the presence of something chasing me. I remembered what happened with Sakura and took off running. It corralled me to Naruto's apartment and left me there. I never saw it, but I could feel its presence the entire time. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. His apartment? You're not telling me everything, Ino. Ino shook her fist at him. I'm trying to tell a story here, you blockhead. She glared at him when a troublesome slip from the pineapple-haired boy. His TV was on in the apartment, and I thought that was central control, the thing in everyone's mind that allows you to gain control after you use the jutsu, but it was his memories, or what seemed like memories. It had to be some kind of trick. It was already queued up to one in particular. It had Naruto running through an entire ballroom full of people like a hot knife through butter. It was the single most terrible thing I had ever seen, and when I started watching it I felt like I was actually there. I could hear the directions of the screams, the panic of the people trying to escape. I could smell the blood that spilled out on the ground and everything. Shoji paused in his eating for a minute before shrugging off that mental image and continuing to chow down. Ino continued her description of Naruto's memories. That was just the first one, and I couldn't turn it off. I was in his body while this strange silent man in a mask just beat him while he was tied to a chair. He never spoke. He just kept hitting him for hours until all I could see through his view was blood. All of the memories I saw were just like that. I finally had enough and cancelled the jutsu. Shikamaru just stared at the girl. Wow, that's kind of hardcore. You felt everything happen as if you were there? That means that it wasn't a trick or anything. You really were in Naruto's memories, doesn't it? Ino shook her head. Naruto couldn't have been any older than 7 or 8 years old when any of the things I saw happened. If it wasn't a trick, then I sure as hell can't believe that those things were his actual memories. Those were things that Dad told me the Umbu did on a regular basis. There's no conceivable way that while we were preparing for the academy, Naruto was taking on Umbu-level missions. That just doesn't make sense. Shikamaru stayed silent and pondered Ino's words. The things that Naruto did when he fought everyone, those techniques, that fighting style, the way he carried himself. All of those things didn't just come out of nowhere. Forest of Death. With game faces on, Team Guy headed into the restricted area of the Forest of Death where the level of peril went up. The forest grew darker, and it wasn't just because the sun was setting. The canopy was beginning to completely block out the sunlight above. Faint sounds of inhuman screeching rang out in the distance and was growing ever closer. The tense waiting was broken when the blonde that they were looking for flew past them into a tree, followed by the biggest spider that any of the genin had ever seen before. It was easily the size of a full-grown adult male and had launched itself at Naruto, fangs dripping venom. Naruto pulled up his ninjato and drove it right through the spider's face, sending the blood of the arachnid spraying all over the place. Swinging his blade upwards with a burst of wind chakra to bolster it, he cut straight through the deadly creature. Spitting on the corpse of the spider, he turned to Team Guy. Oh sweet Kami, what are you all doing here? Do you know where you are? Lee ran up to Naruto. We've come to protect you, Naruto-kun. We'll get you out of here in one piece, it's a promise. Guy walked up to the two. It's as Lee said, we've come to get you out of here before the sun goes down. Come on, Naruto-kun, let's escape. Naruto looked at Neji and Tenten, who were both serious, but otherwise fully calm. He shook his head. Guy-sensei, is this the first time that you've ever come this far inside of the Forest of Death? Guy nodded and Naruto sighed. You guys have no idea what you're getting into. Neji, activate your Byakugan and tell me what you see. Neji did as instructed and gasped as he shakily spoke up. I see at least a dozen of the spiders that Naruto just fought surrounding the area, watching us. Naruto nodded as he saw the other genin pale. That's why I don't tell anyone that I train here. There's no one that I would feel safe putting into this kind of situation. I come in here to fight against opponents that are willing to fight and kill me. I can't take on people, but if I want to split a spider in half, there are always a few dozen skulking around this place. It's the closest thing to simulating a real full-pitched battle against a vicious enemy that you can get, definitely not for genin. Naruto propped his ninjato on his shoulder. Since you're here now, I have to cut this session short. I was going to keep going until midnight and then make a mad dash out of here to escape, but having you guys show up has forced me to skip straight to the bat out of hell rush that I was planning for later. You guys brought too many of them here. They'll come in waves to try and wear us down. You fight until I tell you to run and you follow me out. Keep your eyes peeled when we break out. Those sneaky bastards like to hide in the canopy and jump you from the shadows. Tenten had to choke down her fear at the situation and brandish kunai when Naruto placed his hand on hers. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? Naruto's eyes darted around the area. You're going to need something bigger than those. That will just piss them off. Kami, I just had to get stuck in this situation with a team of taijutsu specialists. None of you know any jutsu or how to use your element with your fighting, do you? Lee blinked at him in confusion. Will taijutsu not work on them, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked at Guy and Lee. If you can generate enough force to crush the exoskeleton, then it can, but you don't want to stay up close with these things unless you can smash them in one shot. Guy shot Naruto a shiny smile. Naruto-kun, it's time to show you what good old-fashioned hard work and youth can do. Lee and I will have no trouble dealing with these spiders with our taijutsu. Niji, how about you? Niji stood in his Juken stance. If they have a chakra system, and they do, I can fight and kill them. Naruto looked at Tenten, who put her kunai up and unsealed a battle axe from a scroll. I'm ready. Naruto stared at her blankly. Tenten, you can use an axe? That's awesome. The first spider saw a moment of weakness and jumped from the trees at the group. Naruto jumped in the air and gave the spider a wide berth while swinging his blade. Extending the end of his sword with wind chakra, he cut right through the spider and landed on the ground. You fucking eight-legged pieces of shit just don't get it yet, do you? Naruto formed two Kage Bunshin to watch his back as he ran directly towards the closest spiders that would jump at him. He cut out one of the spider's legs from under it using a one-handed swing while simultaneously driving a Rasengan into the torso of another, carving into it with the force of a drill, sending guts all over the place. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Naruto's clones ran to back him up as three more spiders emerged from the surrounding area to attack. The giant arachnids were now extremely wary of Naruto's sword, seeing as how it had been his weapon of choice for the entire day's events. Getting sick of how the spiders were avoiding him, he ripped a sword from one of his Kage Bunshin's hands and threw it at one while enhancing it with wind chakra, impaling it against a tree and killing it. Hey! That was mine! Was the indignant cry from the victim clone. The original just shrugged before the three Narutos scattered due to being double-teamed by the two other spiders. The original and the clone that still had his blade engaged the spiders, with the clone being far more conservative with its way of fighting as one bad shot could dispel it. The original simply ran some misdirection and cleaved all four legs on one side of his spider off. Before running off to assist some of Team Guy, he planted an explosive note on the nearly helpless spider, forcing it to explode in a shower of guts. While he was judging which one of the team required assistance, he ended up being blindsided by the spider that had dispelled his Kage Bunshin and sent sprawling along the ground by the powerful creature. The giant spider skittered closer to the boy before one of the more sizable tree limbs from above came crashing down on top of it, killing not only that one spider, but two more hiding in the background. Naruto's other Kage Bunshin landed on top of the tree limb with his sword that Naruto had thrown in hand. Hey boss! I found my sword! Naruto nodded. Good work. I'm going to help the others. You wait for an opening to escape. Dispel when you see an opportunity to leave. The clone nodded and went off to stay out of the fight while the original Naruto headed into Team Guy's melee to assist. Niji was not having much of a problem keeping the spiders off of him. He would use Kaiten whenever he started getting swarmed, but he was finding it hard to finish them off. The spiders seemed to have so many tenketsu in their legs that it would take too many shots just to incapacitate one, and when he attempted to just hit it straight on somewhere vital they would use their incredible agility to simply dodge and avoid a fatal strike. Futun, Fujin Saiken, Wind Release, Divine Fist of the Wind God. To Niji's shock, 2 spiders were sent flying. One off into the distance, deep into the forest, the other hit a tree with crushing force, turning it into a stain before the tree itself cracked and fell over. Naruto ran over to him, sword drawn, giving the boy a slight nod. Niji eyed the one remaining spider of this pack. Naruto, I can finish this one off. Go help Tenten or Lee. Naruto heard his tone of voice and figured arguing or pulling rank on him would have just earned him some of the Hyuga boy's ire. When Naruto left, Niji ran at the spider that backed up to get some spring into its legs for a pounce. Niji saw this coming and when it launched itself at him he slid underneath the spider's belly, hitting it in the spots that were harder to get, but were guaranteed to finish the monster spider off. The spider tripped over its own legs and onto its back, kicking for a moment before crinkling its legs inward and dying. Niji smirked to himself before going off to find one of his superiors. Tenten was having an easier time with her fighting. The spiders were knowledgeable about human weaponry and about the differences between male and female humans. While the sight of a girl with an axe did not compute for most of the spiders that saw Tenten as an easy kill swinging that giant thing around. Too bad for them they didn't figure that she could actually swing that damn thing pretty fast, and was very good at timing their attacks. Each swing from the girl took out something, good thing it did too, that heavy axe was an energy sapper. Naruto stood in a pile of 4 or 5 spiders, so I guess you're doing okay for the time being? Tenten gave him a tired smile and a thumbs up while leaning on the handle of her weapon. I was scared at first, but these spiders are kind of weak. But there are so many of them. Naruto nodded while watching out for her, giving her some time to rest for a moment. They aren't supposed to cause any ninja better than an academy fresh gen in any trouble one-on-one, but they're persistent, ruthless, and they just keep coming. Hell, I make a game out of counting them as I kill them. Tenten raised a delicate eyebrow at that. What's the highest you've ever gotten? Naruto thought about it as he watched Niji finish off a spider. Well, I got started earlier than usual in the day this time and I could swear that I was bearing down on some kind of record when you guys showed up. I lost count though, I think it was getting up past 200 of them. Tenten's jaw dropped. 200 of these things? There are really that many that you can kill 200 before we even get here and still be worried about us attracting too many to you? Both noticed Niji coming to their side and all 3 of them looked at what the 2 more eccentric members of Team Guy were getting into. Yash. Guy-sensei, who knew that this mission would turn into such a splendid battle. For Naruto-kun to seek out a challenge such as this, I truly have selected the appropriate choice for my eternal rival. Lee ducked under the pounce of one of the spiders before launching himself at 2 more. Konoha de Zenpo, Leaf Great Whirlwind. Lee unleashed a torrent of high-speed kicks at the oversized arachnids, smashing them into a nearby massive tree. Guy cracked one of the spiders with an axe kick that simply made it collapse in a heap. Lee, use this as an exercise. Naruto-kun. How many of these creatures did you fell? Naruto watched the 2 identical taijutsu users seemingly having a blast fighting these damn things. You mean since you've shown up, or since noon? Because that's when I started. Guy sent Naruto a gleaming smile. I believe in my Lee. Let's go with this afternoon. Naruto, Tenten, and Niji looked at each other before Niji and Naruto shrugged. Tenten sighed and answered him. Guy-sensei, Naruto-kun says that he's killed around 200 of them since he came in here. Guy stood seemingly shaking in place. Naruto thought that the number of spiders he killed had pissed Guy off. He didn't know Guy was all for arachnid rights. How was he supposed to know? Guy turned to Naruto with flaming, tearful eyes. However impossible that seems, such a youthful, combat-filled day. Lee. In order to defeat your rival you have to defeat more than 200 of our 8-legged enemies. Lee's eyes blazed over in a similar fashion. Yes, Guy-sensei. And if I cannot best my rival Naruto's number of spiders slain, then I will do 500 push-ups on my thumbs. With one last battle cry, Lee ran into an area where spiders were waiting for an ambush. Naruto palmed his head as he watched Lee begin ripping into the spiders with fists and feet. You guys are going to bring the whole damn population of the things on us. Look, we need to get out of here. The more you kill, the more show up. If it was this easy, then don't you think it would be recommended for ninja to train in here? It's actually frowned upon, because you can't take them on forever. You'll run out of energy and chakra before they run out of bodies to throw at you. Kill all you want as we get the hell out of here. Naruto ran in and grabbed Lee by his collar before dragging him off, with everyone else following close behind. As they started to go back through the thick of the woods, a spider tried to come from behind a tree to sneak attack them. Guy saw it coming and flipped at the massive thing with punches and kicks, dynamic action. Turning the spider into goo as they didn't break their stride. Naruto-kun, what is the best course of action to escape? Naruto moved back. Guy-sensei, watch the front, I'll keep them off of our backs. Niji, Tenten, and Lee, stay between us. Niji, keep your Byakugan on. Tenten, prepare some kunai with explosive notes. Take to the trees, it narrows down the angles that they can attack from. Team Guy listened to their Chunin tag-along and got themselves into position as they leapt into the branches of the forest. Naruto's knowledge of the terrain by now was second only to Anko. He knew where the majority of things of interest in the forest were, and the current thing of interest was the closest exit that wouldn't take them straight into the nest of the spiders. We need to get further south. If we head straight north or east from here, we'll have to go straight through the nest to escape. That would be suicide even for me. Guy nodded and led the group further south. During their run, Naruto held his head in pain and fell down on a branch. Lee jumped back to help the boy to his feet. Naruto-kun, what is wrong? Are you hurt? Naruto cursed to himself as he grimaced in pain. A bunch of my clones actually fully lasted for their time limit and dispelled all at once. It's like the worst headache you've ever had hitting you all at once. Thanking Lee as he stood back up, they were distracted by Niji's shouts, there are more coming. Naruto turned around to see 5 of the spiders jumping from branch to branch, getting ever closer. Naruto threw Lee off of his branch at his team, stay back. There's something I need to test out anyway. They all watched as Naruto let the spiders in close before making a set of hand signs and crossing his arms in an X motion while crouching, futon, senpu kakusui, wind release, whirlwind pyramid. Standing up and stiffening all of his appendages straight out, a vicious crosswind surrounded the area around Naruto's body, catching the spiders within and sending them flying into the air, some of them cut into pieces, others missing legs, all of the survivors hissing in anger and pain. The jutsu faded after a few seconds and he turned back to Team Guy, getting everyone moving again to stay ahead of the spiders attempting to prey on them. The genin were pretty stunned by the use of Naruto's new jutsu, but were too occupied with staying in one piece at the moment to ask anything. After another half hour of random spider attacks and running, they escaped the forest of death and collapsed a good distance away from the gates that cut it off from everything else in the village. Naruto laughed to himself as he looked up at the night sky. Well, that was fun. You guys alright? Guy looked back at the forest of death. We're fine. Naruto-kun, what was the inspiration for going so far into the forest of death? You know how dangerous that place is, don't you? Naruto stood up and dusted himself off. Of course I do. That's why I went in there, for a challenging fight. I'm training to kill my opponents, Guy-sensei, not just defeat them. I need to be used to ending lives whenever I need to, and since I'm pretty sure that absolutely nobody would miss any of those spiders being gone, I go in there to fight them. It's amazingly good battle experience. The genin all deadpanned, we noticed. Naruto chuckled but then turned a suspicious eye on them. Wait a minute. What were you all doing in there? The only person besides me that ever goes in there is Anko, and she doesn't even spend time there like I do. She'll just go in far enough to train in peace or find me to spar, not deep into the back end of the place. Guy nodded. We had a mission to head into the forest of death and find the source of all of the sounds coming from the place. Naruto laughed slightly. Well, mission complete because you're looking at him. I make tons of Kage Bunshin and have them work on lots of different stuff. Pretty cool, huh? While I handle my physical stuff, they can handle things like my chakra control and ninjutsu. Niji understood what he was saying, so you get the accumulative memories of your Kage Bunshin, and while they do memory-related things, you go in and develop things like strength, speed, and dash dot. He stopped and looked back into the forest. Battle experience. Naruto grinned and nodded. Lee ran up to Naruto and dropped into his stance. "You have inspired me, Naruto-kun. I challenge you to a friendly spar." Naruto sweat dropped. "Lee, it's almost midnight. I've been spending the last 12 hours fighting a life or death battle against spiders from hell. You're all exhausted from looking for me and fighting spiders by my side. And lastly, how many spiders did you kill?" Lee looked confused until his eyes widened and he hit the ground to begin his push-ups. "You have bested me this time, Naruto-kun. Next time I will win our challenge and show how splendid a ninja I am. I will complete these push-ups or else I will run laps around Konoha on my hands until the sun comes up. And if I cannot do that I will dash dot." Naruto walked off with Tenten and Neji in tow as Guy stood over Lee shouting about his youthfulness. Naruto gave Neji a chuckling smile, "And that's how you handle that. I don't see what you and Kakashi were all bent out of shape about when it comes to those two. As far as having Lee as my eternal rival, it's easier than not having him as my eternal rival. I can just beat him once and not deal with him until he's through with all of his self-given punishments. He won't mess with me again until he's done with them all, and by then I can disappear." Neji's eyes widened. He had never thought to realize that the times that he defeated Lee in their spars, Lee would leave him alone until 3 days to a week later. When he ignored Lee, he would get a challenge every hour on the hour until he accepted. Naruto and Tenten laughed at the look of contemplation on his face. "On the flip side of that, you two have to see him tomorrow and deal with him talking about how he's going to beat me next time all day long. He has to track me down if he wants to do that to me. Yep, being Lee's rival actually spares me more of the creepy sunset genjutsus than not being Lee's rival." Tenten realized that Naruto was right. He'd only seen it twice. Once when they first met before the Chunin exams, and once before they all went to get his sword. Any other time when he was around them he would usually accept Lee's challenge, win or lose, and then bid everyone a swift goodbye. Compared to the people that are around when Lee and Guy have their little moments in town and not even trying to tally up all of the times that it had happened around Neji and Tenten since the team had been formed, she realized that Naruto had to have the pretty much lowest victimization rate of being subjected to the sunset of youth. Naruto grinned at the faces that both of them were making. "I can see that you both have something to say, so go ahead and say it." Before Naruto could notice, the tenketsu in his legs had been sealed off and Tenten and Neji had used his momentary incapacitation to start dragging him back to Lee and Guy. Tenten threw him at Guy's feet, disrupting Lee's push-ups. "Guy-sensei. Naruto was just telling me and Neji that he thought he needed more youth after all of the youth that he exuded during his last mission and during his training today." Neji nodded in agreement. Naruto looked at the girl with a strange look. "Really? That was the best you've got? That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything, ever. There's no way they're going to fall for that." He noticed that his words didn't deter the evil grins on the faces of the normal members of Team Guy who pointed behind him. Tenten waved to him. "I'll see you when my team meets up tomorrow, Naruto-kun." Before he could say anything, Guy and Lee had placed their hands on Naruto's shoulders and had hoisted him to his feet with tears pouring from their eyes. "Do not worry, Naruto-kun. Lee and I always have time for a comrade in youth." Lee nodded vigorously. "If need be, Guy-sensei and I will stay up all night with you, making sure that your fires of youth are fully replenished." Naruto resigned to his fate and turned back to the still smiling Neji and Tenten with a dark look. "I hope you enjoy this. Because you both know that you're getting fucked for this, right?" He never got their response as Lee and Guy had dragged him off to their usual training ground. "Naruto-kun, in order to build your flames back up I want 1,000 punches with each arm and 1,000 kicks with each leg. After that we'll go for an invigorating run around Konoha, on our hands. 10 times. Naruto's cries of protest could be heard throughout the night. A few particularly familiar screams of genjutsu-induced horror may have woken the majority of the village's citizens, but in the case of one bun-haired girl and one young branch Hyuga, it was just what they needed to lull themselves to sleep. It's about time something like this came up. I'm kind of nervous though. Naruto's thought to himself as he sat in the trees just surrounding a somewhat secure clearing. After 2 months of doing C-rank missions with a team, he was given a solo B-rank mission of his own. Remembering what Tsunade had told him about one of his teams a few months back, that they had thought he might be somewhat good as an umbu, he figured this was something of a tryout mission or something. Shunin don't get solo missions, so he figured this was the only thing this could be. His mission had been to head to a town in Suki no Kuni, Land of Moon. Tsunade wasn't very forthcoming with the information on exactly what he was doing here at all, but he figured this wasn't some kind of trap or anything. Why would she kill him off? So all he really had to go on was that he had to meet a contact once he arrived. This was the first time he had worked without a team in years, and while he wasn't expecting anything anywhere near the borderline suicide things that he had done the last time he had solo missions, it was always nice to be ready just in case. Instead of taking his usual clothing, he decided to don his execution gear that he had worn during his escapades in Kumogakure. He doubted that it would really matter what he wore for this job, because as long as he had his Hidie, he was told that the contact would find him, but hey, why not? After a few days off following the diplomatic mission to Kumo, he had been blasted with back-to-back missions ranging from escorts to bandit extermination. They had been mostly snoozefests, mainly because he had an entire team to help him out. Nothing had occurred the likes of the disaster to Nami no Kuni, thank Kami, but he missed the action. The only instruction that the boy had received for his mission was to head to an inland town on Suki no Kuni and find the bar that had been listed when he first left before burning his mission scroll. After entering the small town, it wasn't too difficult to find, as this town was not too large like the coastal towns that the tourist country were more known for. Upon entering the bar, Naruto had to stop and check back outside to see if he had made a mistake. It wasn't. That was the only bar in the town. The reason he had to check after first entering was because the first thing that greeted the boy was a loud, boisterous laugh that he was quite familiar with. The sight of spiky white hair filled his vision upon first walking in to add on to the laugh. Whoa! Slow down, ladies, there's enough of the great Jiraiya to go around. Jiraiya, as per the course, was surrounded by a bevy of women hanging off of his money ere his every word. Naruto couldn't believe that Jiraiya was his contact for whatever he was about to do, so he simply sauntered past without stirring the man's interest and made his way to the bartender. Pulling off his hood, he showed off his Hidie in the low light of the bar and sighed as the man looked at him. "We don't serve minors, kid, you know that." Naruto gave him a dry look. "I know your country has a hidden village, so you should know better." Naruto flicked the metal on his headband, showing to the man that he was a ninja. "1 bottle of sake, please, whatever brand you think a kid should be drinking." The man nodded and turned to grab Naruto's order. A kid shouldn't be drinking at all. "So what's a Konoha ninja doing in Suki no Kuni?" Naruto gave him a wry grin. "I'm on vacation." Turning back around and pouring Naruto his first cup with a smirk, he spoke. "Kid, you're in the wrong place for a vacation. There are no resorts or attractions around here." Naruto chuckled as he began sipping his drink. "Let's just say I find the charm of the countryside appeals to me more than the beaches do." The man let out an amused laugh. "You're a strange kid. What kind of kid doesn't like the beach?" Pointing to himself, Naruto refilled his cup after finishing off his first one, "This one right here." The banter was stopped short when a hand placed itself on Naruto's shoulder. The guard covering the back of the hand gave away who it was, Arosenin. "What are you doing all the way out here?" Jiraiya had a grin on his face as he sat next to Naruto at the bar. "What? Gaki, you don't think it's just a wonderful coincidence that you and I met up here, in this bar, in the middle of nowhere, randomly out of the blue?" Naruto had to crack a smile at that. "Maybe it's because Bachan told me that you would be calling for me to start working with me after a few months and the deadline is very close. Add on to that, she said she would clear me for some time off, and she ends up sending me on a mission to the country with more resorts than anywhere else in the elemental nations. That kind of tells me something when I combine it with running into you while looking for my Konoha contact." The older man snatched up Naruto's bottle of sake and looked at him strangely. "You drink Gaki?" Naruto shrugged. "I had my drink with Gamabunta and I actually like the stuff. I don't indulge daily like Bashan, and I don't down 2 or 3 in one sitting like you, so don't worry." "I take offense to that, kid." Jiraiya asked for another cup from the bartender before pouring himself a drink. "So what have you been doing since I last saw you?" "I've been just training. I don't know what to say, I've just been working on regaining my jutsu and my wind affinity. I never found out how to go any further with it, so I've just been cutting tons of leaves with my Kagebunshin since whatever they learn I learn." Jiraiya nodded. "So how far can you go with you know who right now?" Naruto raised 3 fingers and continued to drink. Jiraiya stroked his chin. That's actually very good. You weren't supposed to be able to use that much of its chakra yet. I have to unlock a bit of your seal for you to go any further. Honestly, you shouldn't have been able to draw that much. Naruto frowned. Drawing that much isn't convenient. If I take any more than one tail, it takes way too long to be effective. I need about 5 to 10 minutes of preparation time depending on how much I use. I had to come up with an alternative way of increasing my power in a pinch, and even that takes too long to use in the middle of a fight. The upside of it is that it is a fantastic visual distraction, but on the flip side it hurts like hell to use. Jiraiya grunted in. Though, you've been through this in your head quite a bit, haven't you? Naruto nodded and took another sip. Every other Jinchuriki out there can wipe the floor with me as I am. I've never said that to anyone in Konoha, but it's true. I went to Kumo, both of their Jinchuriki have absolute control. Like Gaara did, but without the crazy hostile takeover of their demon. Hell, I'll say that the only reason I beat him is because I had Gamabunta run interference on the simple-minded fuck while I woke Gaara up. If I'd had tried to just fight and match power, even with Gamabunta there, we might have lost. Jiraiya stroked his chin. I'll loosen your seal and have you work with that. Maybe then you can have an easier time using the Kyuubi's chakra faster. Naruto picked up the bottle he had purchased and stood. Well then, let's go do this already. Akatsuki isn't going to wait for me to get stronger, and this obviously isn't a mission. Is that all we're going to work on? Jiraiya stood up after him and let him out. Nope. You obviously know how to draw upon the Kyuubi's chakra if you've been experimenting with it like you've said, so I don't need to give you time to learn that. You can make Rasengan absolutely perfectly, so you don't need to work on that. Speaking of Rasengan, if we can get through your training the way I anticipate we can, then I'll tell you something special about that. Naruto looked up at the taller man. So what are we going to do? Jiraiya grinned down at him. You needed to know the next step to furthering your wind manipulation, didn't you? Well, I'll show you what to do to work on that. You started on it back when you were a kid, right? Naruto nodded. Danzo told me about the leaf-splitting exercise a few months before my little incident in Otogakure. I still blame you, by the way. Jiraiya's face fell. So you still hate me, do you, kid? Naruto shook his head. No. Not anymore. If there was anything that I learned en route, it was that Konoha comes first. If you and the old man thought that I was a threat to the village, I can see why you didn't wait for me to wake before acting. I don't like it, I probably never will like it, and I'll always have some spot in me that resents that, but I understand. Naruto saw that they were exiting the town. It's why I can forgive my father too. Jiraiya's eyes widened at that. Why, you know? Naruto gave him a foxy smirk. Tsunade-bashan never told you that I did she? Yeah, I know, and I have to say that I need to be more observant. It was staring me in the face every damn day for years, and I had to have helped to figure it out. Jiraiya sighed deeply and looked down. You know, Gaki, I was supposed to be your godfather. Naruto didn't bat an eye. Oh really? That's cool. So I should call you Arokyufu now, right? Naruto didn't receive an answer and turned to see Jiraiya staring at him with his jaw dropped. What? Jiraiya wiped the look of shock off of his face. You aren't upset or even in denial on that? Naruto shrugged. Why would I be? Even if you had been looking for me in Konoha, you would have been hard-pressed to actually find me and do anything godfatherly with me. I went to Danzo when I was 4. I only went to the apartment to keep up appearances with Hokage Gigi. He was like clockwork. It was easy to figure out when he was showing up, so I was always home on days when he would visit. I'm not going to be a little punk and complain about why you never came to check up on me, because I never asked to be checked up on. You had your responsibilities and your own baggage to deal with. I did too. And I don't think I want to find out what I would have ended up like if you had been an active influence in my formulative years. Naruto finished with a smirk. Jiraiya smiled down at Naruto. So you know about your dad, do you? Are you going to follow in his footsteps? You're a damn talented kid. Naruto put on a thinking face. If you're asking whether or not I want to be Hokage, I don't know. It doesn't seem like my niche in the grand scheme of things. Jiraiya looked at him in slight surprise. You're really different from your other self. Being Hokage was the thing that drove him. He always said he'd be Hokage and get everyone's respect. Naruto raised a finger, and that's my point. I'm not like that anymore. I didn't want their respect by wanting to be the Hokage, I wanted their adoration. I don't give a fuck what the majority of those people think about me. If they hate me, fine, go ahead and hate me, but I want their respect in the purest form, not any kind of love from them. They can sneer at me and say things behind my back all they would like, but when I'm dead they better recognize the fact that I was the best damn ninja that they ever had the pleasure of seeing in person. Jiraiya grinned at how brash he was being. It's almost like how he would talk about being Hokage back when he wore that jumpsuit. I don't even think he knows he's saying it like that. Naruto continued, as long as my name is emblazoned in the history books and a 97-year-old Irika-sensei is still yelling at a classroom full of brats to shut the hell up so they can study Naruto Uzumaki and why exactly he was so important to the village, I'll be fine. I want the kids of my generation to sit down with their kids and tell stories of the time that Naruto Uzumaki saved their asses. He chuckled slightly, I'm kind of already doing that. I've already manipulated the landscape on a massive scale. The crater and the forest of bone near the Valley of the End was made during my fight with Kimimaro Kagaya. It's not as big as the Valley of the End, but it's the best anyone's done in almost 100 years. Jiraiya picked up on something during his monologue. How did that crater even get there in the first place? The Kagaya clan doesn't have any attacks that could make craters like that. Naruto pointed to his stomach. It's a part of the thing that I came up with to make up for not being able to use that much of Kyuubi's chakra. It's strong, but damn does it hurt. It cracked every bone in my body to use. Chuckled Kyuubi bitched me out about it after the fight. Jiraiya had a new point of interest now. You speak to the Kyuubi? Naruto nodded, yep. When I was little it was a hard ass, as a matter of fact it's still kind of a hard ass, but I can't imagine not having it in me. It's like I was never alone, even when I was. Naruto snickered, by the way, you're on the Kyuubi's top 20 list of people that it wants to eat one of these days. Jiraiya blinked in confusion. It has a list of people that it wants to eat? And I'm on it? Naruto grinned, yep, you're number 14 because of when you sealed me, that really pissed it off. GG is number 4 because of giving the order. It said I used to be on it, but I ended up getting myself off of it after I unsealed myself. Jiraiya had to ask, I know I'm going to regret asking, but who is number 1? It's Minato, right? Naruto shook his head, nope, he's actually number 20 and bordering on leaving the list altogether. Number 1 is Madara Uchiha. The Kyuubi says that it hates that bastard and wants to eat him without chewing so that when it swallows him he can die the slow way. Number 2 is Hashirama Senju. It says that the tree-hugging bastard can go down the wrong tube just so it can spit him up and eat him again. Jiraiya had to take a minute to picture that and cringed visibly. Wait, you're not on its list? Why not? You are its prison after all. Naruto grinned like he had a secret. Yeah, I'm its prison. I control pretty much everything in my head. Before I started trying to use its chakra when I was a kid I had to make sure I had supreme control of myself. I changed everything in there to better accommodate it. Nobody wants to spend an entire lifetime in a leaky cage in a sewer, and I made some deals with the Kyuubi to make both of our lives easier. Seeing as how having a giant fox in a leaky cage in my head would piss it off unnecessarily, I fixed it. Jiraiya and Naruto continued to chat as they made their way into the wilderness of Suki no Kuni. 2 days later. We've been walking for 2 days, Erosenin. Where are we going? Jiraiya led Naruto through a particularly wilder patch of brush that was beginning to irritate the blonde. He could swear Jiraiya was swinging those branches back into his face trying to be funny. Jiraiya smiled to himself at seeing that the kid was starting to get frustrated with just walking around. Calm down, Gaki. We're here, just head on past this undergrowth here and we'll be there. As they kept moving, a distinct roaring noise became louder and louder. Jiraiya and Naruto pushed through some more vegetation and stopped as Naruto's jaw dropped. Whoa, sweet. Jiraiya could see that Naruto was pleased with his choice of training environment, a river running through the island that was situated in their current position right by a waterfall. Naruto walked over to the edge of the water and looked up at the cascade while Jiraiya walked up next to him. Yep, you needed one for the next part of your training and staying in Konoha would have been boring. I thought about going to Takigakure, but I don't think they would have let you in just so you could mess with their waterfall. Naruto nodded, though he was barely listening until his mind registered the word training. So a waterfall is important to my training? Okay, I'll bite. What am I doing with this thing? It's very simple, my boy. Jiraiya had a sly grin on his features. You already know how to split a leaf with your wind chakra. Well, this is kind of like that. It's just that instead of splitting a leaf you have to split a waterfall. Jiraiya was eager to hear Naruto's outburst at what he had to do. But Naruto's face never changed from the slightly dull expression that one had when they were thinking about something. The outburst never came, on the outside at least. What the fuck? Split a goddamn waterfall? Who am I, the fucking Night Aim Hokage? Shut the fuck up, Kit. I'm trying to sleep. He said to cut the waterfall, not stop it, you retard. If you're going split the waterfall, just split it and leave me alone. Naruto had mentally stirred the Kyuubi from its slumber, and it was none too pleased. Naruto turned his venom onto the Kyuubi. Oh really, mister, I can flatten mountains and race tsunamis with swings of my tails? Why don't you bring your big chakra-conducive ass out here and make me? The Kyuubi growled lowly and started radiating chakra. I'm not a mister, you idiot, I'm a corporeal mass of chakra. And come in here and say that to my face, Ningen, and see if you don't leave with more than a few chunks of your ass missing. Jiraiya snapped his fingers in front of the unresponsive Naruto's face. Oi, Gaki. I think I broke him. Naruto, however, was oblivious to the outside world as he was busy having a territorial pissing contest with a demon of near infinite power. Oh, I'll come in there, but that's the last thing that your furry ass wants. I'll shove my boot so far up your ass your tongue will have grip. The only reason my tongue would have grip is because I ate your legs and decided to keep your shoes afterwards to chew on. You're obviously forgetting who you're talking to. Gaki. Naruto was finally brought back to the world of the waking by Jiraiya shaking him and yelling at him, "What Arosenin? I was in the middle of something with my inner furball who was being an ass." Jiraiya sweat dropped. Yeah, bitch at the Kyuubi later, we have work to do. Just channel your chakra and try to cut it the way you did with the leaf. He pointed, you can use the bridge over there as a stable point to stand on. Naruto nodded. Who built the bridge on the waterfall? We're in the middle of nowhere. Jiraiya preened like a peacock. I built it myself. I found this spot and decided to bring you out here, kid. Someone else decided to chime in once more. Who the fuck else would have built it, you brain-dead hairless ape? Naruto growled on the outside. I'm sick of your bullshit, Kyuubi. Be productive or shut the hell up and go back to sleep. Jiraiya tapped Naruto. Geez, calm down, kid. Kyuubi chuckled and spoke mockingly. Listen to the hermit, Kit. Calm down, just calm down. Calm down, just calm down. Calm down, just calm down. Naruto's eye twitched. Mute. Naruto sighed in relief as the Kyuubi's voice went silent. I forgot I could do that. What the hell is up with him? He hasn't tried to provoke me like that in forever. Naruto turned to Jiraiya. Sorry about that, Arosenin. You were saying? Jiraiya frowned momentarily. He's already showing signs of the added demonic chakra from the loosening of the seal. Maybe I should have waited until after we finished his elemental training to do it. Alright, Gaki, get up there and get started on trying to split that waterfall. Naruto saluted Jiraiya and scampered to a spot in the middle of the waterfall on the bridge. Pulling his hood up to avoid getting totally soaked, he stuck his hands into the waterfall and began generating wind chakra. Naruto could feel the force of the waterfall snuff out the force of his minuscule amount of chakra. Okay. It looks like I need to come up with more raw force to split this thing. Goody. Naruto shook his hands dry as Jiraiya came up next to him on the bridge holding an umbrella. This is more or less a trip to get you started on the training. The entire process could take upwards of a few years to master. Naruto looked at Jiraiya before forming a cross seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto filled the bridge with copies of himself that immediately went to work trying to cut the waterfall. I just wanted to try it for myself before I had my Kage Bunshin do it. I have something I need to do for myself right about now. Naruto jumped off of the bridge to the surface of the water and walked to shore before sitting down and getting into a meditative position. Jiraiya appeared at his side. What are you going to do, Gaki? Naruto looked up at Jiraiya. I'm going to go into my mindscape so that me and the fox can hash out our little situation. Jiraiya looked apprehensive. That might not be such a good idea if it's mad at you, kid. Naruto shook his head. Why not? I mean, we've been at each other's throats before, but it blows over. We fuck with each other. I stopped being malicious about it years ago. Naruto shut his eyes and put his hands back in the ram sign. Jiraiya grabbed his hands and broke his concentration again. Don't. Remember when I told you that I was going to loosen the Kyuubi seal to give you better access to its power? Well, I did it the other night while you were asleep when I said I was going to check your seal. Haven't you felt yourself getting more aggressive and angered easier? Naruto nodded. I figured that puberty was finally starting to make me nuts with all of the shots of testosterone. You're telling me it's because the Kyuubi's chakra is leaking out more steadily now? Jiraiya pulled Naruto's shirt up and revealed that the seal was showing even though Naruto wasn't doing anything. Your body is adjusting to the influx of demonic chakra, though now it's more important than ever for you to control your emotions. It's now far easier for you to lose control when you become angered. You tried picking a fight with the Kyuubi a few minutes ago. I would have slapped you right then if I wasn't sure that it would have made you madder. Naruto blushed out of embarrassment of being called out like that. It had been months since anyone had called him out for being overly emotional. Having been en route, he took it somewhat personal that he was being told that he needed to control himself until he realized that he had been freer with his outbursts than even 4 months ago. Jiraiya noticed this. I'm not saying that being expressive makes you a bad ninja. I mean, just look at me. He said with a stupid grin that got Naruto to crack a smile, but you've got to know how to manipulate your emotions rather than just go with them or cover them up. If you're mad, learn how to channel that elsewhere. I've seen that you're none too shabby at the trash talk. That's good. Things like that can help you. Naruto nodded. So you don't want me to go into my mindscape, at least not right now anyway? Jiraiya patted the boy on the shoulder. No, don't go in there for a while at least. Probably until your seal disappears from view when you're just sitting idle like now. I'll tell you when it's okay to try. He pulled Naruto to his feet. Now while your clones are doing their thing, why don't you show me what you can do? Naruto smirked and started bouncing around in loose stance. You do know that I'm going to take out quite a bit of aggression on you, don't you? Jiraiya grinned and crossed his arms across his chest. You do realize that I'm the strongest ninja in Konoha, don't you, Gaki? Naruto rolled his eyes. There's that S-rank superiority complex again. I can't wait until one of you guys gets schooled by some low-level nobody that couldn't shine your heighty 8 on your worst day. Jiraiya barked out a laugh. It's not like I'm taking you lightly, Naruto. I've seen what you can do. Now that was then, this is now. Feel free to cut loose and hit me with your best shot. Naruto looked somewhat apprehensive. Are you sure? I mean, some of my stuff is really heavy. I mean really heavy. And I'm not talking about the stuff you've seen either. I could get you with a lucky shot and you could be a goner. Jiraiya waved him off. If you manage to push me that far to the extent that actually you own me like that, then that just means I'm getting rusty and needed the ass kicking anyway. Now come on, kid, you're still 10 years too soon to beat me. Naruto's smirk returned full force as he blurred from Jiraiya's sight. Jiraiya wheeled to the side to block a jumping kick from the blonde. Jiraiya's face held quite a bit of amusement. Faster now, aren't we? I've been training with Rock Lee and Mato Guy for a while now. They said that I was slow. That kind of pissed me off, but damn, the way that they train, I'm not surprised. Naruto pulled his leg from Jiraiya's arm and lashed out at his body with a straight punch that Jiraiya parried down. Naruto kept his attack low with sweeps, low kicks, and attempts at body shots, but Jiraiya was way faster than him without the Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto expected as much, but it was still a kick in the teeth to stomach. Speaking of kicks in the teeth, Jiraiya eventually got tired of dodging and planted the soles of his geta into Naruto's face, sending him flying back. Don't get lazy with your attack pattern, kid. You're not faster than me, so you can't overwhelm me like you do everyone else. Fight smarter. Naruto picked himself up and made 3 Kage Bunshin before rushing Jiraiya again. That brought a grin back to the legend's face as he found himself in a hodgepodge of a premeditated taijutsu assault from the clones and the boy himself. Jiraiya had to admit that the clones were very coordinated, they definitely knew their role in the attack. Since one hit would dispel them, Naruto had them play more of a pestering role, trying for low success rate strikes from Jiraiya's blind spots. Things like flashy jumping spin kicks and the like, he also had them shouting and yelling. While this was a good way to distract most opponents with the false threat of the clones, it also gave away the real Naruto, who was right in front of Jiraiya the entire time, staying out of range of the man's attacks and trying to keep a lower profile by staying silent until he thought that one of his Kage Bunshin feints had enough of Jiraiya's attention to attempt a short rush. If he had tried this on anyone his rank or below, hell, if he had tried this on a few jounin that specialized in flashier arts and weren't good enough at taijutsu to keep the kid off of them, he would have beaten them into a bloody pulp fighting the way he was. Unfortunately for Naruto's plan, Jiraiya was fast enough and aware enough to dodge everything and pinpoint the real body. Averting his eyes as a feint of his own to draw the real Naruto in, he grabbed the original's arm while ducking kicks from two of the clones. He knew this was the original because he pulled him in and drilled him right in the stomach with a powerful shot to send him flying back again. The clones tried attacking all at once, but Jiraiya stood between them all calmly and flew through his hand signs too fast for them to stop. Hari Jizo, Needle Jizo. The clones were dispelled when Jiraiya's hair grew to surround his body and hardened and sharpened to puncture the poor things. Jiraiya let his hair regress and stood straight up, clapping his hands. That was nice, Gaki, you made me use a jutsu. Naruto narrowed his eyes in determination. Well, since you showed me yours. Naruto made hand signs and placed his hands on the ground. Thank you, Yugi-chan. Raiton, Kaksen no Jutsu, Lightning Release, Livewire Jutsu. Naruto sent out a speedy burst of arcing electricity from where his hands touched the ground in front of him at Jiraiya. Jiraiya made a hum noise and jumped high into the air over the crackling electricity before making his own hand signs. Keton, Enden, Fire Release, Flame Bullet. Jiraiya shot a bullet of flaming oil at Naruto, who was still on the ground. Naruto simply darted away from Jiraiya's aim and decided to try and catch him hanging in the air. Naruto grinned as he made hand signs and linked his fists together. Got you hanging, Erosenin, Futen, Fujin Saiken, Wind Release, Divine Fist of the Wind God. Naruto shot the attack in the direction of Jiraiya's fall to time it to make contact. Jiraiya saw this coming and shot another flaming bullet at the shimmering wind attack, causing a mid-air explosion that allowed him to land safely. Naruto snapped his fingers in disappointment while Jiraiya dug out his ear. Damn, Gaki, you cleared out the wax with that last explosion. Naruto shook his head in amusement and flipped Jiraiya off. Whatever. I'm getting closer. I'm going to knock the hell out of you by the time this is over at least once, I guarantee it. Jiraiya chuckled. This lasts as long as I let it last. Don't get a swelled head here. I'm strong enough to kill you 10 times over. Naruto growled and ran in to attack again. Underestimating me will get you killed. He threw shuriken at Jiraiya in an attempt to direct his movement a certain way, but Jiraiya just moved aside and let them pass. Naruto grinned and placed his palms together. Futon, Repushu, Wind Release, Violent Wind Palm. Naruto created an updraft stream of wind that Jiraiya hunkered down to let pass and wait for Naruto's charge, but it flew right past him and carried to the shuriken that Naruto threw, forcing them to sweep high into the air back over Jiraiya's head. A few more hand signs from Naruto signaled another jutsu, Raiton, Kaminari Shuriken, Lightning Release, Lightning Shuriken. The shuriken over Jiraiya's head began raining down bolts of lightning that he was forced to dodge. Upon getting out of the storm of electricity, he hastily ducked a cutting jump kick from Naruto that would have made good on the kid's promise to nail him with a good shot at least once today. Jiraiya grabbed hold of Naruto's leg and flung him off hard. He flipped to his feet to see Jiraiya make the boring tiger hand signs before slamming his hands to the ground. Doton, Yomi Numa, Earth Release, Swamp of the Underworld. Naruto made a yipe noise and jumped high into the air, but didn't clear enough ground to escape the swamp. Gotcha, Gaki. I'm not good at this yet, but it should do for this. Naruto smirked. You think so? Futon, Kaze Wakiakaru, Wind Release, Wine Burst. Naruto seemingly jumped on nothing but air and shot himself the rest of the way over the swamp. Jiraiya's jaw dropped until he realized that Naruto was hovering directly over him and was falling fast. Naruto linked his fists together again and pushed them out. Futon, Fujin Saiken. Jiraiya hightailed it out from under Naruto before the ground where he was standing ended up with massive fist-shaped marks flattened into the earth. The force of pushing out the jutsu helped Naruto land softer. Jiraiya shouted at the boy, "What the hell, Gaki? Where are you learning all of this crap? And who the hell taught you any lighting ninjutsu?" Naruto dusted himself off. "I knew this stuff when I was in Root. I'm just now starting to get them back, and there are still more that I can't do yet. I never could. Danzo had me learn them in the hopes that I could get the control to use them one day. And about the lightning jutsu, let's just say a certain Nico and Kumo likes me well enough to teach me some stuff." By now there were sounds of a raucous crowd, confusing both fighters until they looked at the waterfall and saw the clones knocking off from working on splitting the waterfall to watch them fight. Apparently they were well entertained. Naruto sweat dropped while Jiraiya guffawed nearby. "Really obedient clones you've got there." Naruto palmed his head and dragged it through his hair. "Well, I do work them pretty hard, so I guess this is okay." He turned to the clones and put on a confident pose. "Who wants to see me kick Erosenen's ass?" A loud cheer went up from his clones with the exception of one, "Boo. Erosenen, stomp a mudhole into boss's lazy ass. Always having us do this shit while he gets to fight." Jiraiya grinned cheesily at the clone and gave it a thumbs up. The original Naruto was looking at the lone Kage Bunshin blankly, as were the rest. Naruto pointed at him, "You shut up." Before the clone could respond, Naruto dispelled him. Jiraiya turned to Naruto, "What's the matter? Can't take the fact that even you know that I'm going to kick your ass, Gaki?" Naruto set himself back into a ready stance. "Hey, I need unanimous support from myself. I can't be telling myself I'm going to lose." Naruto ran at Jiraiya and tried dropping a falling axe kick on him that was dodged. Jiraiya tried to retaliate with a backhand strike at him that Naruto caught in his hands. Jiraiya pulled him back towards him and kicked him in the stomach, forcing Naruto to let go. Jiraiya kneeled down near Naruto, who was coughing heavily on the ground, crouched in a near ball. "As if I'm going to let you keep a grip on me and use your scary strong strength to throw me around like a 6'2" ragdoll. I'm still physically stronger than you." "I noticed." Naruto leapt to his feet and shoved his right hand out at Jiraiya, which contained a familiar blue ball of spiraling chakra, Rasengan. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and formed his own Rasengan to clash with Naruto's. "I'll show you how it's done, Gaki." Rasengan. The two attacks clashed against one another, both chakra balls grinding against one another forcefully. Naruto held his ground as best he could, but was steadily being overpowered. In a last-ditch effort, he overloaded his own Rasengan with too much power. Jiraiya saw the evil smirk on Naruto's face and had his eyes widen as he felt the extra influx of chakra. In a flash of blue, the technique exploded, throwing both of them off. Naruto landed in the water while Jiraiya plowed into the trees hiding the waterfall. Pulling himself ashore, Naruto saw Jiraiya slumped against the trees and stood to run his way over to continue the fight before he could stand. As he drew close, he skidded to a stop as Jiraiya fell apart to mud. Naruto looked around but was too late as his surroundings changed. Instead of being outdoors near a waterfall, he was instead surrounded by pink, fleshy walls. Naruto tried to punch his way out, but ended up sinking his hand into the wall when Jiraiya's voice rang out, seemingly from outside, "How do you like that, Gaki?" Naruto's legs began sinking into the ground of whatever he was in. "This is Kuchios, Gamaguchi Shirbari, summoning, Toad Mouth Bind. There's no way out of this, it's the esophagus of the great fire-breathing mountain toad. There's nothing you can do, it's over. I could get the walls to digest you if you want to act like you're not beaten." Naruto sighed, "Yeah. I quit, you win." In a puff of smoke, Naruto was totally freed as his clones voiced their disapproval. He turned to them and sighed, "All right guys, I lose. Now get back to work so that next time I won't." The clones let off a collective affirmative and returned to their task. Naruto walked over to the tree where Jiraiya's muddy replication melted as the man himself came from the trees. Jiraiya ruffled the boy's hair. "Good fight, Gaki, you didn't do too badly." Naruto grumbled, "I didn't lay a finger on you, even my double-edged move didn't do anything." Jiraiya pointed at himself, S-ranked ninja standing here. "I told you what was going to happen. You're good, but not that good. You have way more jutsus than I thought you would." A few of your moves were something incredible for a kid your age. I don't think I'll ever get over just what you can do. Naruto sighed and walked back to the waterfall. I guess I'll join my clones on working on the waterfall. Jiraiya laughed loudly. Oh, now you're all dejected? What happened to venting some aggression on me? I guess you've learned that when it comes to dealing with hotshot know-it-all punks with blonde spiky mops, there's no one better than the great Toad Sage Jiraiya. He finished while standing in his pose. Naruto got a tick mark on his head and formed his seal for Kage Bunshin, surrounding Jiraiya in copies of himself. Oh, yeah, like a bunch of brats are going to beat me up. Oh, I'm so scared. Henge. Harem no Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, Jiraiya had countless nude blonde women hanging off of him. This was too much for his brain to handle as he launched back into the woods with blood flying from his nose. Naruto dispelled the clones and headed back to the waterfall. I should have thought of that during the actual fight. 2 weeks later. Naruto had been steadily training with his clones to perfect his nature manipulation, but even with the clones his progress was slow. They were finally making headway, with a cut beginning to form in the waterfall, but there was an agonizingly long way to go if he wanted to master his element. He had still yet to go speak to the Kyuubi after their little episode because his seal was still visible on his stomach, even when he was relaxing. He followed Jiraiya's advice and stayed put of his mind for the time being. While he had his clones handle working on the waterfall, he told Jiraiya about his interest in Fuinjutsu and trying to take it up, if nothing else so that he knew what was going on with his own seal. Jiraiya agreed that it was a good skill to have and put him to work, taking him off of splitting the waterfall personally and leaving that to his Kage Bunshin. He had Naruto start straight from the basics, which was getting his handwriting perfect so that he would make perfect strokes with his brushwork when sealing, as even a small slip could be catastrophic. Much like the work with his elemental training, it was bitter work and slow going. Made even slower by the fact that Kage Bunshin would do him no good here. Getting his calligraphy perfect was more along the lines of muscle memory, like learning stances and the like. As thus it was more physical than mental. He could use them later on when he got into the practical education of sealing, but until he wrote clearer than a 10-year-old grammar student he couldn't. Jiraiya had left him at their training spot to head towards a town to get more sealing supplies, as he was going to teach Naruto how to make his own ink to seal with. And the boy found himself alone one night by the waterfall. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto turned towards the source of the voice to find a boy, roughly his age, standing in the branches of a tree. He had pale skin, short black hair and black eyes. He wore a collared shirt that cut off at his midsection along with black pants, black shinobi sandals, and black fingerless gloves. On his back was a tipless tanto and a backpack that could be accessed quickly in case of necessity. Naruto was sitting by the water when the boy showed himself. He stayed up in the tree. Is Jiraiya of the Sannin around? Naruto scoffed. If he was here then you wouldn't even be this close. What do you want? Who are you? And why am I not killing you right now? I am here for Danzo-sama. He has been wanting to get into contact with you for quite some time now. The boy bowed slightly. I have been given the name Sai for this assignment. Naruto looked at Sai with an appraising eye and decided to test out Sai's claim to be one of Danzo's men, so Danzo Gigi decides to send out a gayhood ornament to contact me. Tell him that he needs more girls en route. It's a sausage fest, I swear. Sai didn't blink at all, getting a nod from Naruto. Okay, you're Danzo's. So what's the message? I probably already know, but go ahead. Sai spoke. Danzo-sama says that you are no longer one of his tools. You were extremely useful during your time under him, but you're too risky to try and take back now. Besides that, he says that you wouldn't fur back in any way. Naruto nodded. I figured that. He's right, I can't just disappear back to HQ now. I'm too out in the open, and he can't keep risking guys like you just to make contact with me for assignments either. It's too high of a gamble now for him to have me. He looked at Sai suspiciously. So what does this mean then? Am I a loose end for him and he sent you to try and kill me? Sai shook his head. I am incapable of bringing you down, Uzumaki. I was simply dispatched to bring you Danzo-sama's messages. You are by no means expendable. You carry his teachings inside of you deeper than any other, he just cannot risk trying to meet with you himself. It would seem too suspicious, and it is no longer necessary. Even without him, you are true to the one thing that he put into you more than anything else, that Konoha comes first. Everything we do is for Konoha. To that end, he says to you to grow stronger and protect our home. The foundations of the great tree will always be rooted inside of you, Uzumaki. Naruto nodded and turned to return to watching the water when he still sensed Sai's presence. Yes? Do you still need me for something? Sai was still in place from when he first started speaking. Danzo-sama does have one last assignment for you, Uzumaki. It is one that he is certain is well within your parameters to complete. Naruto turned around and stayed seated, watching Sai carefully. One last mission, huh? What the hell, why not? One more for old time's sake. I owe the old cripple that at least. He gestured for the pale boy to continue with the message, which he did without delay. Danzo-sama wants you to do all that is in your power to become Hokage. Naruto's eyes widened. Root training be damned, even though he was in front of one of the operatives, he was surprised as all hell to hear that, Danzo Gigi wants me to become Hokage? What? I thought that was his kick, why would he want me to do it? Sai stared at Naruto emotionlessly. He has not truly given up. Danzo-sama is getting old, Uzumaki. He says that the death of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the last Hokage, showed him his own mortality. He is well aware of the fact that he will probably die before another opportunity to take the position ever shows itself again. You are the closest thing to an apprentice that he has. He has shown you his ways of working, he has shown you what he could about the system of the village. With you in power, he would feel secure in the fact that Konoha would have a Kage that would truly be strong enough to handle the job, to do what is necessary. Naruto still couldn't believe it. Why me? Couldn't he have actually trained someone for something like this? Sai spoke again. Who else would suffice? Even though you have Danzo-sama's backing, no one knows it. He could never instill his views into someone and send them into the political world without suspicion arising. You already are mistrusted by a good portion of the population, and you are slowly turning that number around. You already have the backing of a few significant names in the village due to your actions and character alone. The entire country of Nami no Kuni sees you as a hero for one, and you are close to the current Hokage herself as well as the children of the Kazekage, and the current Raikage favors you. You inadvertently put yourself in the position for this. Naruto looked at his hands. Me, the Hokage? It was a pipe dream of a foolish mindset, not something real. And he wants me to actually go for it? Sai turned to walk away. I have given you Danzo-sama's words to you, but he asked me to leave you with this in case you were having trouble. Turning around to face Naruto, he looked at him firmly. Where there is light, there is shadow. To be a shinobi is to sacrifice oneself. Closing your eyes to the sunlight. Distinguishing yourself in the shadows. That is the true form of a ninja. Naruto nodded in agreement, but snapped his eyes open when Sai continued, but that is not your destiny, Uzumaki. The truth is, you are the leaves bathing in the sun, and I am the roots that grow in the dark. Naruto looked up at Sai, who turned and began walking back to the woods. Before he made it to the edge of the trees, he turned around one last time. You have the full support of Danzo-sama and Root. We will be in touch, Uzumaki, do not worry about that. We will not disappear. Sai gave Naruto a closed-eye smile that seemed totally out of character and left the area, leaving Naruto alone with himself. Naruto looked at his reflection in the moonlit water. Splashing the water to disrupt the image, he looked up to the moon and sighed. The last order from Danzo Gigi. Become Hokage or die trying. Naruto chuckled to himself. Naruto Uzumaki, the Rokudaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato. Now that sounds like it would look good in a history book.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.